All gone! The new chapter, Chapter 6. The body of a doctor, followed by the body of a hazmat guy who just earlier that day hosed me down. Came flying out of the tunnel and splashing into the bloody water. Vlad continued to growl and scream as he picked up the bodies of his fallen brethren, his co-workers, and flung them across the room. This was the first time I saw Vlad at his strongest, yet his weakest. All that he had spent centuries building, all the people who he grew to call friends, all progress he and his co-workers had made, it was all gone, demolished by who knows what. All I knew was Vlad wasn't happy. Jax remained kneeled next to the eviscerated corpses of his friends and was caressing a young woman's, I believe it was black, hair. It was hard to distinguish with all the blood dyeing everyone's hair a similar shade of red. I later found out that the woman was Jax's soulmate. I was going to propose by the end of the year, but whatever broke in didn't spare her. Let's read that better, we think. Yeah, sorry about that. I was going to propose by the end of the year, but whatever broke in didn't spare her, and I'm not going to spare it either. Jax clenched his fist around his soulmate's bloody black hair, released it, and stood up. Vlad heard Jax's declaration and immediately ceased throwing his co-workers and picked his gun back up. He then headed to the meeting room and loaded up weapons. And they switched on the tabletop TV. Security footage of the atrocity that took place a mere hour before began to play. It showed a black van similar to ours drive out, and the garage closing behind. But just before the door shut completely, black shadows shot out from under the garage door and swarmed toward the soldiers and doctors. Then the garage door began to rise to reveal an old man propping up the door. The shadow soon returned to the old man and merged to form a shadow, leaving the doctors and soldiers to collapse. Minutes passed on the screen as the old man snooped around the garage, the labs, and the meeting room. This shadow split again, and then the bodies of the doctors and soldiers appeared to be sliding from every room toward the tunnel. Jax reached the TV tabletop to show all cameras at once, and we watched as their friends were dragged by the shadows and deposited in a tunnel. Jax jumped 30 minutes to see the old man's shadows tearing away at the facility. Shadows were bending the fans, shattering the glass, and even knocking over equipment. Jax jumped forward some more, and we watched as the 15 nozzle system started spraying inside the tunnel. And then, on the center monitor of the main garage area, we witnessed the old man jump high and out of the camera's range. Next thing we see, the old man leans from behind the camera to give us a close-up of his face. It was Hexacore. It was Hexacore. And in another camera, the garage was showing closing. The garage was shown closing. Seconds later, our van pulled into the garage area and the door closed behind us. We were all thinking the same thing, but Vlad was the first to say it out loud. Hexacore didn't have time to leave. He's still in here, Vlad exclaimed. The three of us stood in the waiting room for a brief second, searching the live cameras. And then Vlad pulled out some white drawstring bags and told me to take them. Vlad aimed his gun at the ceiling and exited the room. Jax and I followed suit and ran to the garage area where all three of us looked up at the camera and followed the flickering walls, looking for footprints or claw marks. Nothing. Not even blood. I just then remembered there wasn't any blood on the floor where the soldiers were struck dead after being sliced by those shadows. I confronted Vlad with that as we walked back to the van. Hexacore is bait, Nope. Hexacore is playing me. Nope. Hexacore is playing with me, baiting me. He's killed everyone I've ever loved, including my real family's descendants. He has a grudge against me, and he won't stop till he gets what he wants. Me, his father. Vlad continued. I brought this beast to fruition, and I'm responsible for the billions he's massacred. Jax tried to settle Vlad by telling him that it wasn't his fault, but Vlad wouldn't listen. Vlad got in the driver's seat of the car and told us to get in. I asked what they are going to do about Hexacore. We can't worry about him now. Shia is lost in the city. Fuck. I don't know if I look too close to my monitor or what happened, or if I talk too much. Not dizzy, but a little woozy. So give me a second here. It happened like a page ago, but not good. I can finish. So, where were we? We can't worry about him now. Sial is still lost in the city, and thanks to you finding the infection shield gel, we now have a fighting chance. Vlad looked at his hand as he clenched it with anger, and then looked out at the destroyed facility and up one more time to search for Hexacore. Hexacore was nowhere in sight. We sped through the city, dodging cars and avoiding street posts until we reached our destination, Ravenwoods. It was named that because of the dark complexion of bold green leaves and incessant bird chirping in the morning. If one was to enter Ravenwoods just as the sun was coming up, the thousands of birds would begin chirping and, in my opinion, blow out one's eardrums. Whew, I forgot how cynical this character was. As we exited the van, I remembered to ask about the white drawstring bag, and Vlad said it's C4. I asked what we would need it for, since all we have to do is shoot it in the heart. Vlad, too busy to talk, uttered that it's a plan B. Oh. Would either of you like to carry the bag of C4 so I don't get blown up? I half-joked with them. Jax took the bag from me and pulled out a square of C4. Vlad continued ahead while scanning the trees with his gun. He then showed me that each one had already been wired and assured me that they won't go off unless the countdown is activated. And even then, I still have several minutes to get away. Jax then handed the bag back to me, and we caught up with Vlad, who had stopped at the edge of the tree line. Just before the tree line, across a small stone walkway, a common bum slept on a park bench. It didn't take long for me to see why Vlad was intent on staring at the bum. Just behind the park bench, I noticed a sliver of blue cloth, that looked to be torn from a goodbye's uniform vest. Kevin must be hiding as part of the tree. Jax apparently had the same assumption and fired at the tree. The tree appeared to wobble, but in fact, Kevin was stepping away from the tree, and it only looked as though the tree was moving. The bum looked up to see what we shot. I finished the sentence. The bum looked up to see what we shot, and was met with the wooden face and tree body of Kevin. The bum rolled off the bench and ran past us screaming. Jackson Vlad stepped onto the stone walkway, so I followed suit. Vlad leaped at Kevin, or the tree vampire known as Siha, and bashed Kevin's head with the silver gun. Jax fired two blasts at Kevin's branches / arms, causing them to shatter, and blood to pour from the trunk body. Vlad continued to pummel Kevin's head with the butt of his silver gun until old Siha had enough and used the force of his trunk legs to kick Vlad off his head. Vlad went flying into Ravenwoods, but soon came soaring out and grabbed Siha's / Kevin's neck as he landed, sending Kevin's tree substitute body crashing to the ground, and allowing Jax to fire 3 blasts into Kevin's chest, exploding him into thousands of mini particles of sawdust. On the way back to the facility, I was fixated on the battle that was soon to break out. All the trained soldiers of the facility were killed instantaneously by those shadows. How am I likely to hold up against them? I looked up at the corpses of the little girl and long-haired man who lie motionless next to me in the van, and then I noticed a green light, and it reminded me of a green square I saw earlier. The green square I saw earlier. The green square I saw back in the alley, is that also Hexacore? I asked and waited patiently for an answer. No, that green square is something much worse. We'll tell you more if we make it out of this. Jax opened the door as the car came to a stop just in front of the garage door. How about you take me home and tell me tomorrow? I'm not much of a fighter. I tried not to shake in fear, but couldn't hide my feelings of overwhelming fear of dying by the hands of those shadows. Jax argued that they needed all the help they can get. I suggested that I just walk home. And then I reached for the door, but before I knew it, I had Jax's gun pointed at my face and Vlad's hand on my shoulder. We can't let you leave, Vlad stated as he looked towards the garage. Whew. Fuck. So the next chapter is the next chapter. I believe it's 7. And it's called Hexacore. I'm not reading it yet. I probably should... I don't know. I'm going to take a break. Sit here for a second.